Hello and welcome to Wildcat. I'm your host, Stephen Walton, coming back finally from my extended leave due to gallbladder removal. Happy to be back. Today we're going to be talking about the weekend that was the weekend of October 13th through 15th. We had several cats in action, so we're going to be jumping into that right now. So to start things off, unsurprisingly, we have Kansas State football. K-State football won 38-21 at Texas Tech this weekend. Went down to Lubbock, avoided the Raider Rash for the seventh year in a row. We had some unlikely MVP performances on this team. One of which is a freshman we were not expecting to really take the main stage quite yet. However, we're happy he did, as he finished the day with 5 rushing touchdowns. Avery Johnson stepped in to really take care of the running game for us, although he was outpaced in rushing yards by Trayshawn Ward. If it weren't for Avery in there running the read option, if it weren't for Avery in there running the quarterback powers, I don't think we would have won this game. Not a knock on Will. However, we needed to run the football this game, and Avery Johnson was the guy to do it. Will Howard is more of a passer than a runner. Will can certainly run. He's still got our longest rush of the season for this team. However, he's a bit more lumbering, slower than Avery. Avery was the fastest guy on the field, it seemed at times, if not the entire time. So I think that we'll start to use him a bit more only whenever we need to pass or against teams that are allowing us to pass, while Avery is going to be a bit more situational. But we can touch on that more in a second. K-State, again, went to Lubbock, 38-21. We honestly started off strong. Looked like Will was going to come out and we were going to be able to move the ball quite effectively until we got to really about past midfield. We ran a quarterback power with Will, and it was pretty ineffective. But thankfully, Chris Tennant came out and seemed to shake off his woes that had besieged him the previous games and knocked in a 47-yard field goal for us. Then on our first defensive drive, we found that Will Lee is still out hurt, but thankfully Parrish and Keenan Garber were able to step in and be rather effective, I think, in this game. Tech did have their starting tight end out on this drive. I think we could have had another interception, but Siegel just straight up dropped an interception, unfortunately. But we did cause a punt. Brooks, for whatever reason, on this punt decided to reverse field, which caused a few what could have been a few holding calls. We're lucky there wasn't any clipping, but it did put us back pretty deep, around the 12-yard line, if I remember right. Will continued to take over for us in the second drive, but our RPO was rather ineffective with him in there. And then he overthrew Ward on third down, which still would have been short of a first down, even if he had completed it. Maybe he was hoping that getting Ward out in space, but it just looked like the defender had a beat on him anyways. But Bloomer came in and continues to be very impressive, just boomed it down the field, doing an incredible job. We punted it, of course. Siegel had a big-time tackle for loss on this next drive, and then they causing them to punt. Brooks made a good fair catch. We started around the 40-yard line. And then third drive is when we finally see Avery come into the game, and we saw just immediate production out of him. He had a first down run on his very first carry. He had an RPO pass on for another first down, then a read with Ward for a first down, and then a jet sweep with Keegan Johnson for a first down, and then finally a quarterback power for a touchdown. Just 5 plays, boom, right down the field. Avery came in and just saw instant success. Then Tech came back, though, looked a lot more high tempo. We did start to get some hits on Morton. Duke had a big hit on him. I did like that K-State took a timeout to kind of slow down their tempo. I know Chris Klein likes to, for whatever reason, save those timeouts and not end up using them going into the halftime. We got them down to fourth down. They had a pretty cool shovel pass, which the announcers, whenever I rewatched this game, compared it to one of our plays. Actually, I thought was more of a Kansas City Chiefs type play to Kelsey, but regardless, everyone steals stuff in football. But it was shovel pass on fourth down for first down. Then Siegel gets beat on a deep pass. We did hit Morton again, and he was really hurting. But then they still were able to do a tush push on fourth and goal at the goal line to get a touchdown. We almost held him out of it. Had 3 good goal line stands, but couldn't get him off the field. Avery comes in again on the fourth drive. On 3rd and 10, he checks down to Giddens. He was short, and we punted. Not great. Morton was hit hard again on their next drive by Khalid Duke and number 92 on our team. That was the big note there, is Morton's just continuing to get hit. Coming into our fifth drive, Will actually takes back over. We came out passing a bit more. It was looking a little bit more impressive, but after midfield, we floundered, which seems to be the case too many times when punting again. And then on their fifth possession, Tech's fifth possession, I should say, saw a lot of poor tackling. We found out that Romain actually had a broken wrist, but was still playing. He was playing with just a big old club on his hand. Maybe he can use that for a peanut punch later if it doesn't hurt him too much. We did cause them to punt on this drive, though. Will comes in again on the sixth drive, throws a 42-yarder to Ben Sinnott. It's like, okay, we're looking good with Will. Sounds good. But they decided to bring in Avery, which was a really probably tough choice for them to do after Will just had success. But we get a big run from Ward just due to them having to focus on Avery's running. And then Johnson runs in another touchdown, a second of the day. On that touchdown, if you watch the replay, you see Ben Sinnott pancake a safety and then block the corner out of the way so Avery can just walk into the end zone. Ben Sinnott was getting all the love from the announcers today, but he was also showing them why, as he was our leading receiver and one of our best lead blockers out of the backfield. One thing I noticed on the sideline after this is Rubley, of course, is not playing, but he was very engaged with both the quarterbacks on the sideline, like talking about the play that was, but also just looked like he was celebrating their accomplishments with them, which is something good to see as someone that got beat out by Avery Johnson for that second string spot. And you would hope that Rubley stays with this team because he's going to be an incredible backup and could come in, potentially if, say, Avery gets hurt in the future, or maybe if Avery leaves early for the NFL in the future, that sort of thing. I'd love to see Rubley continue to be on this team, but the way things are shaking out, I'd be a little surprised if he stuck around after this season. He's a former 4-star quarterback. I saw someone say that his dad went to Tulsa. They were interested in seeing if he would go to Tulsa. I wish the best for him. He seems like he's a high character guy on the sidelines, at least from what I've been able to see. So just something I noticed there, going off on a tangent. Our sixth defensive possession, we saw Jake Clifton ejected for targeting. If there was anything lucky about it, it happened in the first half. So he won't have to miss the entirety of the next game. He'll just miss the first half of the next game for his targeting penalty where he got ejected for. Their running back had multiple broken tackles on this play, or on several plays, I should say, on this drive. And they ended up with a touchdown with him. Going into half, we're up 17-14. Coming out of halftime, all those hits I was talking about on their quarterback seemed to add up because they had to bring in their third-string quarterback, a true freshman, Jake Strong. We got him on turnover on downs in that first drive. Will comes in on our first drive. He runs the ball, ends up short the first down on a run, and we end up having a punt. However, Seth Porter, who was having the game of his life on special teams, downed the punt at the 1-yard line. One of the big notes here that I saw on their second drive was Savage with a big-time hit, but then Strong was allowed a 54-yard run, and then just an incredible catch by the receiver Bradley, as Strong gets just lit up by VJ Payne. But Bradley managed to get 1 foot in bounds. It wouldn't have counted in the NFL, but we need 1 foot in college, and it was a very impressive catch and throw with all the pressure that was on both of them. So with that, they went 11 plays, 99 yards, and we find ourselves down 21-17 in the third quarter. Second drive for us, Avery comes in. He has a short errant pass, ends up short on third down, one on his run on third down, but was bailed out by a 15-yard face mask penalty. And then he had another short pass to Senate. Ward was very impressive. He had a fourth down conversion, and then Avery on 3rd and 10. They decided to run power on 3rd and 10, which you don't see all the time, but they trusted Avery with it, and he ran in for a touchdown. And then the Seth Porter game continues. He gets a tackle on the kickoff, downs them at the 18. Third drive, interception by VJ Payne. We had the ball at like the 11 or 12-yard line. Avery is back in, a fake jet sweep, quarterback lead for a touchdown. And then Seth Porter again gets a tackle on a kickoff at the 14-yard line. Seth Porter, game of his life on special teams. On their fourth drive, Austin Romain, I noticed, was getting some big hits in there. They're really challenging Parrish going forward in this game. They're throwing his way. He is returning from injury and was not looking quite himself. They were going at him, and he's one of our best technique coverage corners. So if he was completely healthy, I don't feel like they'd be going at him quite as much. But he is still returning from injury, and I think that they were trying to take advantage of that. Thankfully, their third string freshman quarterback overthrows a wide open receiver, and Savage is back there to collect that interception, setting us up for a fourth drive with Avery, who had a bad read on a read option. But going into the fourth quarter, Tech was loading the box, and Avery on third and long gains 10 of 18 yards on a throw. We end up having to punt, but Bloomer, once again, bombs it down to the 8-yard line. The next drive, Strong would have had another interception drop, but it was dropped by Savage, and I heard Coach Kleiman say after the game that he could have caught that at his ripe old age of 56. Parrish was beat on a long 43-yard pass. Again, this is them targeting Parrish because he's injured. He was right there, but he's not able to keep step by step with them. He was probably about a step off. If he's not injured, he's right there with them. But thankfully, Strong overthrew his receiver in the end zone, and Savage comes up with the interception to make up for the one that he dropped earlier on this drive. Avery comes in, fifth drive, short pass for a first down, has a deep pass to Jace Brown, who I noticed earlier in the game he sits next to every time on the sideline. I wonder if they must have some kind of freshman connection there. I wonder if they must be good friends or just like to hang out on the sideline or something like that. But he found his buddy for a deep pass. And it ended up being Avery's last throw of the game. He threw the ball 9 times today. But Ward on this drive was the benefactor of most of the yardage. I think that the defense was focusing on Avery a lot, which allowed Ward to get us all the way down before Avery picked up his 5th rushing touchdown of the day. One thing I noticed at the end of this drive is Will repeatedly said good game to Avery and was praising him. And it really looked like Avery was trying to downplay it and say, no, I couldn't be here without you, that sort of thing. It was really gracious towards Will. They seemed to have a really good relationship, which I think is going to be important going forward. It looks like we're going to be kind of in a 2-quarterback system, which kind of gives you chills whenever you think of all the times we've been in a 2-quarterback system at K-State and how it's failed. So hopefully they can manage it a little better with this coaching staff rather than the previous coaching staff with Bill. He preferred his running quarterbacks and would find players like Jake Waters who you just couldn't keep off the field because they were such good passers. I'm hoping that we can still have success with both quarterbacks seeming to be getting playing time here on out. On our 6th defensive possession of the quarter, we stopped them on 4th and 1, which in turn kept their running back from reaching 100 yards for what would have been the 5th straight game. So something to hang our hat on there is we did not allow their running back to get his 5th straight 100-yard game. We did allow a ton of yards to this team. However, it was over 500 yards that we allowed. However, we only allowed 21 points due to all the turnovers. So that's something to be happy about. On our 6th drive, we're just running the clock out. Texas Tech was calling timeout for some reason. I guess just trying to do what every team does and trying to build some momentum to go into their next game. Avery ends up having a big run. So it kind of looked like he had the opportunity to outrun everyone to the end zone. Potentially, he did have a corner right there on his hip. Not sure he would have outrun him, but he could have made it interesting. However, he slid rather than run for a touchdown, and people were commending him for this football knowledge. It sounded like he and Cly, or he and the quarterback's coach, had said, first down, get down. So if you get a first down on this run, go ahead and get down. That way we can just run out the clock. He listened, didn't try to do any hero ball, and at that point, it was game cats. So they come back from Lubbock for a win. The band was on the tarmac playing for them, or I think they were actually back at the stadium playing for them as they got off the bus. So that was pretty cool for them to come out there. I think it was like almost 3 a.m. when the band finished up. So really cool of them to do that for the football cats coming back from Lubbock. I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more Avery Johnson. I don't think he'll be the starter, and I think that's for the best. I think Will Howard has not only earned the starting spot, but I do think that in most games he will be the better quarterback for us, as most teams are going to be able to stop the run a bit better than Tech. We need someone that can go in there and run the entire offense, someone that can pass the ball a bit better. Well, from what I saw of Avery, he didn't really have any long throws. He had shorter throws. Both quarterbacks only passed it 9 times. We passed the ball 18 times in this game. We were intentionally running the football, and that's where Avery's going to thrive this season. I'm not saying he can't pass the ball. However, he is a true freshman, and just like we saw with Tech, their true freshman had 3 interceptions. I think that's what we would see if we saw Avery starting, is he'd be making some of those mistakes, or at least tricked into those mistakes by these defenses. So I think Avery will be more of a situational quarterback, to where if we need to run the ball or if the run is open, they're letting us have it, he's going to be coming in and doing that. Because while Will can run the ball and has shown that at times, he's not as fast as or as agile as Avery. He's, I believe, a much better passer, although he's been having some off games this year. He's our best bet going forward, I believe, to be the starting quarterback of this team, with Avery coming in situationally. I also think that Will is a better leader at this point, although Avery did show some really true leadership qualities, especially like people like to point out going into halftime. He stayed on the field and high-fived everyone going into the locker room. He's going to be a great quarterback for us, in my opinion, and most other people's opinion. However, I still think it's Will's time to shine for us, and I think he's going to give us the best bet to make it back to Dallas for a Big 12 championship. It'd be interesting to see Avery against the Texas team. He may be the fastest player on the team, or on the field, I should say, in that game. However, he's also 180 pounds, dripping wet, and you've got these Texas boys who would love the chance to line him up and take a few shots at him. We'll see how that goes. I think that in that game, you'll see Avery run a bit. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. We had to have a game or two to play before then, but I'm looking ahead because that's our biggest matchup to date, and it's one I'm most concerned about having Avery in the game with, but also the most intrigued about having Avery in the game with due to his speed. So I think that this next game will really kind of show us where the coach's heads are at. If I had to guess, Will Howard's coming out at starting quarterback, and I believe that's the right choice. If Avery came out, I'm not sure I'd be all that excited about it, unless they wanted to come out just straight up running the ball. Then that would make sense. But I think Will has earned this through all the years and turmoil that he's gone through, the redemption arc last season, bringing us Big 12 championship, being the leader that he is on and off the field for this team. I think he has earned this and will continue to lead this team to victories if given the opportunity, with Avery stepping in situationally. So we'll see how that plays out. We did have some other teams in action this weekend. Our volleyball team picked up a top 25 team against Iowa State. Unfortunately, they followed up with a loss at UCF. They lost 3-2, but they swept Iowa State in sets 3-0. So a very impressive win against Iowa State on Wednesday, who was ranked 25th on this season. Seeing a decent season started off by this volleyball team. They're currently 10-7. And they have 2 games against Oklahoma coming up. So we'll continue to monitor them in this season, their brand new coach and their brand new home venue. So hopefully the Wildcats can make it to the Big 12 tournament and maybe even the NCAA tournament again and make some noise there. Speaking of the Big 12 tournament, unfortunately, our soccer team lost their last chance to get into the Big 12 tournament. They lost to Iowa State 2-1 on Sunday. It was senior day. They needed a win there and a Cincinnati loss in order to make the Big 12 tournament, because not everyone does. They will face at Kansas for the last game of the season, so the Sunflower Showdown. Kansas is ranked last in the conference, and we're second to last, so hopefully we can get a win over Kansas to finish this season strong for our 3 seniors. From what I've been hearing, I'm sorry I'm not following soccer as closely as I should be. What I've been hearing is we had about 3 seniors. We have a very, very young soccer team here with some very promising players that are freshmen and sophomore coming into the next season and the next few years. If we don't make the tournament next season over the years coming up, it'll actually be rather disappointing. So something to look at is our soccer team going forward. They're in their 9th season, still relatively young in the grand scheme of things, but improving. And it looks like they're poised in the upcoming seasons to really make some noise in the conference. Our cross-country team was in Charlottesville, Virginia this weekend. Our women's team took first place at the meet with a freshman, Josephine Wanjiku, I'm hoping I said that name right, finishing in first place overall. She actually shaved a minute off of her previous 6K time with a new personal best of 20 minutes, 37.3 seconds, which is now actually number 7 on the K-State all-time list. The K-State team finished with 116 points and just flat out dominated this event. It was very impressive, and they had a very impressive season, for being honest. While the men's team finished the 8K in 5th place. The cross-country team will next be in action in the Big 12 tournament, which will be on Saturday, October 28th in Ames, Iowa at the Iowa State cross-country course. So they'll be in line for Big 12 championship on Saturday. Hopefully the women's team can bring it home. It looks like they're the ones that have the biggest shot at it, with us having a few ladies take first place in different meets this season. The ladies team looks to be most likely to give us the greatest shot at a Big 12 championship there in cross country. And last but not least, baseball kicked off its fall schedule by facing off against Iowa Western Community College, the Reavers, which is the community college across the river from Omaha. They are in Council Bluffs, right across from Omaha there. They did what they were supposed to do. They won this game 18-0, and there's not really even a whole lot online about it. I don't think they were trying to rub it in Iowa Western's face. It just was what it was. It was a tune-up game for the Bat Cats, if you will, and 18-0 took care of business. Didn't even really post it on too many parts of Twitter, Instagram, the score, just kind of letting people know, hey, we're back in action. We got some things coming up. They have a Halloween game coming up if you're interested in going to that. But just an exhibition game of sorts against Iowa Western. Nothing really to write home about. 18-0. Easy set, easy done. All right. Well, Wednesday, we have another podcast coming out. I'm back. I had a gallbladder surgery, very unexpected. I've been dealing with my gallbladder pain for about a year. Had an ultrasound done almost a year ago. They said it was just, I just need to eat better and exercise more. So I tried that. I was in the middle of basketball officiating, so I was already exercising. So I tried eating better. Seemed to help a little bit. However, what was it, 3 weekends ago now? 2 weekends ago, something like that. I had some of my worst pain yet. Lasted throughout the night. The next morning, went to the doctor. My wife told me I probably should, and I agreed. So I went to the doctor, immediate ultrasound, and then I left, made it home, and as I'm pulling the driver, they're like, hey, can you come back to the hospital? We're going to admit you. We need to get this thing taken out. Apparently it was a gallbladder infection. Cholecystitis, I think is what they call it. So got that yanked out the next morning, and it's just been a slow recovery. I've never had surgery like that, so I thought I was going to be back earlier and podcasting earlier and moving around earlier, even getting back to work earlier. Missed about a week of work, and then went remote a few days, and just still dealing with fatigue, a little bit of soreness around there, as you can imagine. But I'm feeling a lot better every day. So I'm hoping to, I'm not hoping, I'm back podcasting now and back to work and just regaining my energy every day and improving every day. So sorry for the lapse in the podcast there. We're back at it now. And as you can see, we got video going now. So thank you for joining me on this journey. And make sure you please follow me on X. Like and subscribe on any website you're listening to your podcast on. Take a look at the YouTube version of this podcast as well. We appreciate all of it. Please leave some 5-star reviews and any constructive criticism you may have. This is episode 9, so we're really just into getting things started, especially since having to restart basically now after taking so much time off due to all the illnesses I've had to deal with in the past month. It's been a bit wild. But again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all again on Wednesday.